Welcome everybody, Total War podcast here, Lionheart, starting this off. So if you don't know me, I do various commentaries for the Total War series as well as the odd game when I have the time, and I'm here with several other of the top Total War and strategy commentators, and kicking us off next is...
Yep, so g'day guys, MrMate here. Just the same thing as thing. I do a lot of different Total War games and just random games in general. So yeah, next up, who's gonna go next?
Hey guys, it's SaphirePhoenix here, and you'll probably know me from YouTube. I do a lot of Third Age gameplays as well as some Empire as well.
And me, I'm WhiteEagle, and I'm just quite a small YouTuber. Just have a few Total War multiplayer gameplays with Marcus. So not in the same league as these guys, but
yeah.
Still, I like the games. So
yeah. All right then. So obviously the main topic of this podcast, as you can tell by the title, will be the Rome Total War 2, highly anticipated game that's coming up soon. So we'll just kick it off with some random points and discussing what we all think should be in the game and so forth. So anyone want to start off?
It's going to be awesome.
I'll start.
There we go, that's my bit.
I think one of the big things I'm excited for is the amphibious landings. That is going to be really exciting. The fact they're combining land and sea battles together in the same thing, I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, bringing the like you can see from the screenshots, when you if you attack Carthage from the harbour, you have to actually bring your boats up through the main, like the canal through the city, and your units jump off the side, and that's going to be awesome.
I just think that's such an awesome kind of like development. I mean, think back a couple of years and we thought naval battles would be kind of impossible, and then we've got naval battles, and now we've got the combination of both. It's just going to add a whole new level of strategy. You can like retreat back to your boats and try and bring them back, reform, and then go for another attack somewhere else, or bring in reinforcements via sea to support your land troops. It's just a whole new dynamic to the game and the series.
Aren't they improving sea battles as well? Aren't they like changing the size of the ships or something?
Yeah. So
you're actually having more than one ship per kind of unit card, whereas at the moment in the Total War games you have one unit card represents one ship. But for Rome 2, I think they've said that they want to have like 3 or 4 ships per unit card at least. So you're starting to control naval battles similarly to how you have land battles, so you can have far more larger epic naval battles, just like the land battle counterpart.
Yeah, well, from the one thing I've seen...
And even though
you go.
Even though there's more units, I think it's going to be even more fast-paced, because you're not just going to be sitting back broadsiding with cannons. You'll be ramming each other's ships, and it'll be really fast-paced.
Got the catapults on there. In fact, I was just reading, they've so far announced that they've got over 700 units planned for Rome 2. So I mean, that's epic. Just thinking about a number of different units, even if it's just some different stats on some of them, that's still crazy.
Yeah, true that. Well, it's a big step up from Shogun, where they try to pull it back to the whole rock, paper, scissors dynamic, where like it's just, certain units beat another unit, but now they seem to expanding more to each, like...
Within each tier, you'll have units that will be able to, you'll have like 5 or 6 different tiers of effectiveness that you can swap between.
So it opens up all
be a really different gameplay, because you're a unique culture. You'll really feel attached to that culture when you're playing the battles, compared to Shogun, where it's just one culture. You know what I mean?
It's all part of what they've said. They're trying to make it more... They're trying to humanize war and try and get you more kind of attached to your units. I think they've said that with they're bringing in the veterancy feature, like you have in the multiplayer for the Roman legions, and I assume there'll be something similar for other factions as well, like their elite units. You'll be able to rename and like adjust their stats, give them special abilities. Or it just seems like that extra bit of kind of personal change to your own campaign just make you drive your own story and your own empire even further.
Yeah, well,
I believe...
Yeah, go.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, okay, because I was going to lead on to something else.
I was going to say that I think... I can't remember where I saw it or I read it, but they're trying to limit, or they're trying to reduce like the whole stack armies things. Like in the original Rome Total War, you used to build, maybe 3 or 4 full stack armies and you would just go on a rampage against a faction and try and conquer it. Whereas I think that aren't they doing something now that when you build a big army, that is like your army. You use that army to conquer.
I think they're trying to sort of say once you've built that big army, you've got to look after it, because if you lose it all, you're basically screwed. The AI is going to then come in, take your lands, and if you will need significant amount of time to build up that large army again to combat theirs. You might be able to have skirmishing forces, but you won't ever have something on that scale for quite some time.
You have to fund the campaigns. You have to fund your wars a lot better and everything.
For your legions, what do you guys think about, in Napoleon, how you could get the sort of legendary historic generals? So you could get maybe like Scipio Africanus in your army, or Hannibal, etc.
Well, yeah,
would you guys like that?
In that tech demo or whatever, they've been showing the press.
The Siege of Carthage.
Yeah, the Siege of Carthage.
Yeah.
The Scipio Africanus is the one leading, and they're saying that, which brings me to that point about how they're trying to humanize make a lot more realistic. Like the units have better facial expressions, and you can hear them talking and stuff when they're.
Oh yeah, they've been mocapping their faces, so you'll actually see them like their mouths move and shout orders and stuff.
That's what they're saying with the legendary figures of Rome, and I'm assuming from obviously around the world they're going to have the better facial animations and stuff. So that's going to be epic, just to bring another level of depth and stuff to the game.
Well, just animations in general, aren't they? I mean, I always spend my first few battles that I play on any new Total War game just zoomed right in, watching the guys kill each other, and I normally end up losing battles that way. I'm just looking at these guys doing these awesome killing moves and just scrapping with each other. I know I'm going to be doing that for hours with Rome 2. I just never get anything done because I'm just watching them and losing.
Just completely oblivious to everything else.
That's happened with Shogun.
Exactly.
I wonder if there's going to be a lot of blood in this one, or if they're going to do it like a DLC like they did in Shogun, so they don't have to get the rating up.
If they do, I hope they improve. I hope they don't do it the same way that the blood mod in Shogun 2 is done, because I didn't.
Yeah.
That mod's okay. I mean, I suppose it adds a bit more detail, but it's not that brilliant. If they're going to add blood, they're going to have to make it a lot more detailed.
I don't think they will.
I guess it's kind of like with the blood pack for Shogun 2. It was the blood splattering and things like that. It's kind of reflected the Japanese art style, though, really, wasn't it? It was quite sort of the strokes and the brushstroke and the kind of artistic styling of the time. Where I think. Possibly they will release the game with either as a kind of a day one, or perhaps the first week or so DLC of a blood pack for it for again like 99p or whatever. I think it's purely because they did the same thing. Reason why they did it for Shogun 2 was to keep the rating at 16 plus, so that they've got a wider target audience.
Yeah.
Or technically, they can sell it to more people. Although these days, I mean, you just go, Mum, Dad, buy me this game. Well, I don't. I'm 21. I don't need to do that anymore. It's embarrassing.
Parents.
I just do that for DVDs when it's like a cartoon animation. Buy me Finding Nemo. It's embarrassing. No. Anyway, I digress. Rome 2.
All the way to Finding Nemo somehow. That's what I think. They won't add it on the original launch. I think if they did add it, like Alex said, you need to add it. You need to be a lot more realistic. You can't just have it blood exploding everywhere and stuff like that. Not that they would do it, because they're great developers and everything. But
exactly. Well, I mean, it shouldn't really take away from the experience. There wasn't blood in the first Rome, was there?
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
So if people are kind of going to compare it back to the original, which undoubtedly they are, it's going to get absolutely screwed over in terms of reviews for that. How does it compare to the first one? But if it didn't have blood in the first one, I know we've had blood added in for Shogun 2, but it shouldn't I'm not too bothered about it not being included straight away. I'd like to see it included in a more realistic sort of way compared to Shogun 2's, but...
Well, they added blood to Medieval and Kingdom, didn't they? If a unit was injured, his armor and his weapons and stuff would get bloodied. And you'd get that a lot in Medieval and Kingdoms, but they never seem to expand upon that. I don't know why they never did.
I think it was because it was a different studio at the time developing Medieval 2. You had it was the Creative Assembly studio in Australia actually that was developing. They developed Medieval 2. So in fact, when some people think that Empire was kind of just an unfinished rush project. In fact, they were working on Empire since Rome, basically, the ones in the UK. I mean, they had a few little PlayStation, like Viking or Spartan.
Yeah, the Spartan. I
Total
love
War.
that game.
Yeah.
That was really good.
But I mean, I think the only thing that going away from Rome very briefly, but I think the only thing that really let Empire down was that they just tried to add in too many new features all in one go. They had naval battles, a huge campaign map, all the new styling, they got rid of agents. It was just too much all in one go, whereas I think with Rome 2, you've got kind of now, they've seen that they can get naval battles in working fine. They're now bringing naval and land together. They've got other features, they're updating graphics and everything else. They're pacing themselves a bit more, and I think that's reflected in the fact that they've got, I think they're aiming for about 18 months development rather than a year. This time it's sort of put out for about, late or winter, or even Christmas 2013. And apparently they've got a 40% budget increase on Shogun 2, which was incredibly expensive for them anyway. So, I mean, this is full on, they're going for it with everything they've got, basically.
Yeah, so I heard Sega gave them a huge boost in funding and stuff, because they know that it's going to be like a flagship game of next year. So if it does release near Christmas, it'll probably be the dominating game. You know, any other games that ever stand up,
One thing,
like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But you know, other than that, I don't see any other game standing up to Total War next year.
one thing I hope they do if they're spending this extra money and this extra time is I hope that they get rid of the infamous loading screens that were in Shogun 2. Just the length of time it took for Shogun 2 to load up.
Is that from the desktop, as it were, or actually once you're in game?
Yeah, from the desktop. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. Yeah. The desktop load up was just really long.
I asked about that when I was last captured by Great Assembly. And they said that the main reason for the long load times is it should get faster. Like if you play it in the morning, you leave your computer on, and then you play it later on, it should load up a lot faster the second time. But basically, it's because when you first load it up, they've added this dynamic kind of living background for Shogun 2. You've got the things going on in the background, and that's not been necessarily optimized well within the system. So the reason why apparently it takes so long to load up is that it's loading all this back-end stuff, so that when you want to load up your campaign game and everything else like that, and go through all the different menus, it's fluid and fast, and it loads faster once you're actually in the game. But you've got to wait sometimes a while to get to the game.
Yeah.
But perhaps that will be streamlined. I mean, optimization-wise, I would love to see it actually use multi-cores.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that for the background of Rome, they'll probably have another moving background, of course. It's no more. It's probably the most epic setting you can have, and probably have like a burning city in the background or something.
Yeah, or like an army that's been decimated by some ghouls.
Alright, another point we could probably move on to is
for the unit animations, and they're now bringing that to their faces as well. But you've got the animation's just going to be awesome, and I think on Twitter they posted up a few pictures of the guys having fun in the mocapping studio, just throwing themselves about. So if some of those moves get into the game, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is just seeing how much more detail the units are going to have in comparison to the original Rome Total War, because you have like all these mods like Rome Total Realism and Roma Surrectum 2 that have like changed the graphics of the units so that it's, I suppose, more historically accurate, and it looks a little bit more detailed. But I'm quite excited to see just what the units look like in Rome 2.
Yeah. Well, they said they're going for obviously the more realistic unit looks and everything. Like we were discussing earlier before we started. Now that when you zoom out, this is just what I've heard, but when you zoom out, you can see the color differences in the armies. But when you zoom in, the Romans are no longer like this bright red color. Like the unit, you can see like the leather armor and all that. And like you said, with the detail, it also ties into that thing about the blood, where this was announced, I think, just in the start. They had an interview on PC Gamer or something where the director was saying, the creative director was saying that as the units fight on throughout a battle, maybe this is put in place of the blood, but as the units fight on, the shields and the armor gets tattered and wrecked and stuff.
That's awesome. Kind of like how in I don't know if you played the Batman Arkham City and Batman Asylum, like the suit gets torn up as you fight on. So I think that just looks awesome. One, I actually talked briefly about the animations, is that I think it was in PC Gamer, there's a screenshot of a guy being pushed off a building, and if there was some way that happened in game, I'd never get around to recording anything. I'd just be watching them the whole time.
Yeah.
Didn't you say before we started, Marcus, that they were going to do urban fighting or something?
Yeah.
Urban warfare.
That's one of the things they're saying, because obviously in that time, when, especially for the Battlefield Carthage is probably the most famous, like, well, for the Romans at least, the first time they encountered urban fighting that intense, because I think it was 7 days or something, 7 days, I think even longer than that. It took for them to get to the center of the city, and they're saying they're changing that up now. So when your units are fighting in the streets and stuff like that, it's not going to just be like blocks of units how it is now, moving through the streets. It's going to be they're going to have branching alleyways and stuff for your units to run through and slaughter the enemy that's trying to rout and get back to this town center.
I've read that they're going to kind of
build.
Yeah, you could
Maybe fighting in buildings and like fighting build to building, or go on roofs and get your archers on roofs.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I've read that they also like a lot kind of building on what Chris said, that sort of integrating units with buildings more that they've done since Empire again, sort of having them being able to garrison buildings, but also they've said that to make sieges kind of a bit more dynamic as well, you'll have certain kind of objectives you'll have to capture around the city. So you'll have to capture like the gatehouses and like perhaps maybe some of the key industry buildings there to shut down kind of the city itself as well as kind of the traditional central square or whatever. But I mean, this is the first time in 6-7 years that they've actually returned to having I mean, I like Shogun 2 sieges, but nothing really compares to what we lost with Empire and Napoleon's boring star forts.
Yeah, actually, that was.
I mean, they were so dull, and it was such a shame because you had the introduction of gunpowder. Well, not just the introduction of gunpowder, but the development of gunpowder to make them more devastating. You should be blowing up these vast cities and intricate forts, and you just had these really plain, boring, same old fort for every single battle, just skinned slightly differently depending on what part of the world you're in.
It was like rinse and repeat every time, and just fighting.
Yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to for Rome 2. Just the sieges actually being interesting again, and I want siege towers again. They're just rather than Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can
Spider-Man, Shogun 2 guys.
You see the ninjas climbing the wall, but you can see in the screenshots there they released from Gamescom, I think it was. You have the images of the siege towers moving towards the wall and the catapults firing off in the background, the flaming shots hitting.
Because that leads on to another point, how whenever you attack a city, and says if it's got like 6 turns of food, and you besiege it for 2 of those turns, if you then attack it, that's the city, when you go into the battle, the city will actually be damaged to the sort of extent that would have happened over those 2 turns. So there'll be like rubble and some buildings might be on fire and things, which I think is pretty cool as well. It adds more detail to the game. It makes the sieges more realistic as well, I think.
Yeah,
sounds like they're building. Sounds like they're building upon ideas that they had for Rome 2. Not Rome 2. Sorry, that's what they are. That's what the game is. But for Napoleon, even I'm getting my Total Wars mixed up. For Napoleon, I remember reading in a kind of a PC Gamer preview for that initially they thought that they'd be introducing a new kind of supply feature for Napoleon, where you'd have on the map, you'd be able to see kind of little trade caravans around cities, and if you encircle the city, you could basically starve them out, and then you'd have damage. Kind of sounds similar to what they want to implement now in Rome 2. So it kind of seems like they're bringing back that idea, that feature, which they didn't get to properly implement in Napoleon, and they're sort of bringing it to Rome 2.
No, that'd be good, because there's so many cases of the Romans, because they're the only really people I research are the Romans, but there's so many cases of them where they force people to, commit cannibalism on each other and stuff like that. So cutting off someone's trade, like, that should be a much bigger thing. Instead of just having them have this thing where they surrender, it'd be good to see the town, slowly disintegrate into, like, total anarchy and stuff as they run out of food and they're forced to fight and stuff like that.
I mean, it's a long shot to kind of take this much from the live action trailer, but the way I see it is that you had 3 distinct kind of ways of playing the game that was shown through the live action trailer. Obviously there's no gameplay footage, it's just a promotional thing, but obviously underneath it, it underpins the kind of the core values of what the game should be, which was the espionage. You had the woman stabbing the sort of the noble to death. You had the sort of political corruption with the older politician being arrested by the younger one. And then you had obviously the military, sort of the domination, sort of the soldiers. So I think kind of within that there's a lot more emphasis on, you can just build up a huge army and then just steamroll your way through eventually.
Yep.
But there's a lot more emphasis on go for the diplomatic mission, go for the economic mission, which kind of almost perhaps maybe they're looking to create. I know in Empire and Napoleon you had like prestige victory conditions, so maybe they're looking at creating more of those different victory conditions rather than the traditional conquer the world or capture these number of settlements. Maybe it will be the richest faction in the world or something like that, or be the person with the most allies or the most vassals or something like that.
Yeah, true. That's also the thing that like I've read and stuff that you get from the trailer, from the live action trailer, is that I'm hoping that, because you look for all of it, the live action trailer is all Roman on Roman killing. So what I'm hoping for is that it reflects more of like historically what happened, where politicians would gather entire legions of people to fight against. They fought against each other, before the birth of the Republic, and then like near the end of it, people were slaughtered and stuff to gain power. So I'm hoping that, like, obviously it's probably going to bring a whole other element of it being hard, having to fight a battle overseas at the same time, trying to prevent a politician, a member of the Senate, trying to take the
usurping it.
So, but it's going to be interesting to have someone like. Also, I'm trying to like imagine how they're going to do it if, like, how you're always just this person that's controlling these armies. Yeah, if you're going to be approached more as a person, if that makes sense, like, if senators are going to approach you as a character in the game, or that you're just going to have a character on the game, if that makes sense, like a general you choose.
I kind of get. Yeah, there's some strategy games I've played before where you actually. You yourself play the role of a tactician, and you kind of work your way up as a small nobody, and then you eventually become the tactician of the main army, of the main general, whatever. So that kind of, I don't know if they'd kind of take you off being the god mode sort of control of it into a slightly side role, but perhaps maybe that you will be able to do that. I know that they're trying to. Everything is just kind of trying to immerse players more. I mean, they've got the newer lower mounted camera you can switch right onto like the shoulder of the unit now. So you've had like the cinematic views that you could have in the last 3 Total War games, and sort of the first person mode has been slowly developed, but this sounds like a proper cinematic on their shoulder camera, seeing them fight and all the reactions and animations going on there as well.
Yeah, that's going to be showcase all the animations and the kill moves and everything like that. That's going to be.
But back to the like campaign politics and things, I think that they'll have that for Rome, and they'll have all the intricacies of like the Senate and the senators and the consuls and the proconsuls, etc. But for other factions, the politics will be really different. Like, say, for the barbarian factions, like, you'd maybe separate clans and things, and you've got to try and unite them. For you, like, say you're playing as Gaul, instead of having that big area, you might have to try and unite people, and there's all that kind of clan politics in that, and maybe there'll be different ones for, like, uniting the Greek cities
that's
to try and stop Rome, or even the
Greek city ones
nomad
would be a really
ones,
good one.
Yeah.
Greek city ones, because the Greek city states have a big history of just being constant rivals with each other for hundreds of years. So having a mission where you unite them all into one country, that would be quite an interesting victory condition to have, I think.
Yeah.
I think there was a question.
Quite exciting.
Backstab them and side with the Romans, or something like that.
Yeah, I think there was a question put to the dev team, sort of saying, will the Greek city-states be one faction or several? And I think the reply was it dodged the question quite cryptically, but it was like, we've got around about 50 factions planned to be in the game. Now, obviously, of those, you probably won't be able to play all of them, but mods will eventually allow us to get a hold of...
Talking about mods, I forgot the date, but it's in the next few weeks, isn't it? They're having that mod summit.
Mod summit,
so you can see that they've listened to what the people... Because the people were, from what I've read on the Total War forums, they weren't outraged, but they were pretty annoyed that Napoleon... just Napoleon and Shogun were so hard to mod.
Yeah, I mean, it's the developments they've made with the new Warscape engine, though, isn't it? I mean, we've been shut out from modding the full conversions like the Third Age mod for Kingdoms because they went to this new game engine,
Yeah.
and that makes the campaign map, unless they have the time and money to put into create your own tools or release the coding to edit the hard-coded map, it's just not possible for the regular modders that did all the work on such great mods as the Third Age for Kingdoms to do it on Empire and Napoleon and Shogun. It's just a different way of doing it. Doesn't mean that perhaps in the future we might see a breakthrough in it, but it seems like the days of full conversions aren't going to happen anymore, but you never know, I guess.
You can see they've already taken a step forward in the right direction with the map editor for Shogun 2, so that was a big step.
Exactly. I mean, that was something which I don't think anybody really expected to see something like that. So, I mean, if they can release a tool like that, perhaps maybe we will see something, more mod tools in the future or something like that, but it's anyone's guess, really, isn't it?
Well, I think they might take some... It might give them some initiative from the whole success of DayZ. You saw that a single mod turned DayZ into the most sold game on Steam. You know, like over like a period of a week, Arma 2 became the most sold game on Steam. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that they're not going to...
It's good for them, to promote the ability to mod the game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've bought 2 other copies of Medieval Kingdoms, once because I lost my disc and CD key for my original Kingdoms, and then I bought it when it was on Steam sale for about £2 because I just wanted to have it on Steam because it was easier to just download it. So, I mean, I bought Kingdoms 3 times now.
Yeah, I've definitely spent like equal or even more time on mods than the actual like vanilla games. So I think a lot of people are like that. It adds a lot more replayability to the games.
I think since I started playing Third Age, I've spent more time playing the mods than I have the vanilla now. I kind of need to get back into the vanillas a bit.
It's weird for me because I've always been really not anti-mod, but I've always been like, I just like playing the vanilla games for what they are. But I've always enjoyed Third Age, and I followed that for quite some time and just sort of played it sort of myself privately, my own personal campaigns on it. But I think the major breakthrough for me was my latest campaign is a Darth mod campaign for Napoleon Total War, and just the way it's been set up and the customized options that you can have with it, it feels like a brand new game again. I mean, for me, it's just completely changed the dynamic, which, I mean, the Creative Assembly, I know many times have said they love mods and that they have their own kind of personal lists of their own favourites, so it's definitely something they enjoy. So,
talking about mods, I reckon so far, like, the Third Age one was amazing. You know, Lord of the Rings, amazing franchise. I love Lord of the Rings, but my favourite mod out of everything has been, you know, the ACW one, the American Civil War. That one's just it's amazing. Like, I love how the setting's good, but I just like how it just changes the game. You know, you have the units completely different. You've got like the bigger unit sizes and the big artillery pieces and stuff like that. Like, the only time you get artillery sizes that big that I found was the Napoleon's Grand Battery, you know, in Napoleon, which was from a DLC.
Yeah.
And that thing was massive. Like, it has a massive bombardment, but I don't know, just mods bring a whole new level of depth to the game, and it just looks like over time I'm hoping that for Rome they take, you know, aspects from different mods and they add it to Rome.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else have any points they want to touch on for Rome?
I just hope they improve the AI.
Oh, the AI.
The AI,
Maybe.
People could talk on for ages.
So make it a bit more like Darth mod.
Yeah, definitely. So it's not so much, it just marches straight towards you and there you go, there's your battle. That it actually thinks about it, because I think in the Darth mod, if you try and, it actually tries to flank you sometimes as well, doesn't it? I haven't played Darth mod myself, I haven't got Darth mod, but...
I've found Darth mod for Napoleon. It's very good with managing its cavalry, and I mean, it will force you into square sort of 9 times out of 10, and the moment you come out of square, cavalry turns right back around and goes right back. I mean, I've lost units literally because I've had to dash over to the other side of the map to sort out another regiment or units going on there, and I come back and my unit that I've just taken out of square has now been bombarded by cavalry out of nowhere. I mean, the AI has been improved massively in the mods such as Darth mod, but personally I found that Fall of the Samurai's AI was quite a refreshing change of pace. I felt that really upped its game a bit compared to Shogun 2. I mean, the first time I played it, I got beaten on hard, I think, and I can normally survive on hard, alright. But these armies came out of nowhere. I mean, I lost my third battle or something like that, and I was just recovering, and then suddenly these full stacks come out of nowhere, and the AI actually tried flanking me, which is normally what I just do to them and rinse and repeat. But
well,
it
that's
was
what
a different
happened to
story.
both me and Chris. We both started off the game cocky, thinking that you could win on hard the first time, and you just get absolutely annihilated in Shogun and for the Samurai. Especially for the Samurai, the new weapons and everything were absolutely devastating. You know, your units dying. Like,
Yeah.
Particularly cannons and the naval artillery. When you're attacking a castle, if the enemy has, say, a full stack garrison, if you had 6 infantry, 4 cannons, your general, and some navy, you could completely destroy the enemy and take over the castle with no problems. I think. Well, I found anyway that if you have artillery and a naval support, you can take any castle.
Because a single hit sets the thing on fire. That sets the walls on fire.
Yeah.
You know, and it breaks it down, and the units don't have any cover. Then their infantry wheels up, and then it changed it a lot. Some people disagree and say it didn't change it for the better, but I personally like the setting.
I love it as well.
Well, at least for Rome 2, we know the AI can't get any worse, so it should at least be
so.
capable of fighting you off. And I mean, they're spending more time on it, so you'd have thought that there'd be some more tweaking to the AI, and they'd obviously bring you back to the Roman sort of fighting methods and things like that. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll be, well, by all accounts and by all the previews we've seen so far, it looks like it's going to be an absolutely epic game that I will probably. Well, actually, no, I'll have finished my third year at uni. I would have said I'd probably fail my third year at uni for that, but maybe not. Maybe just not turn up to any job interviews.
At all. Yeah, well, I think me and Chris were saying before that we're hoping that each like Alex also touched on this before, but he was saying there's only so much they can do. Everyone has to understand there's only so much they can do with this game. You know, there are limitations with what they can put in, but hoping that each. They fight differently, but say you're playing as the Celts or something, they use ambush tactics a lot more and stuff like that. Instead of the Romans using their brute force and just marching through a forest with
This is again, I'll be reenacting the beach storming in the film Troy.
Everyone's gonna do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I heard beach landings, I was like,
I guarantee the
first
montage to go off or something like that will be someone reenacting that landing,
or from Gladiator, the fight in the forest.
Oh yes.
I mean, there's just gonna be so many sort of montage. I mean, when Fall of the Samurai came out or Shogun 2 came out, everyone was like, well, how many Shogun 2 videos are going to go up with the Last Samurai soundtrack attached to it? I mean, it's just going to be Gladiator and Troy soundtracks and just lots of sort of cinematics made about them, which is great. I mean, that's fantastic because that's a whole other dynamic to the games itself. People that use it as a kind of a creative outlet for producing.
If you look at that, I think his YouTube name is Naxul or something, Naxual. He does a lot of the videos for all the mods, for the Darth mod. If you ever see trailers for him,
Nazgul,
he does all the videos for them. So you look at him, he creates he recreates historical battles. I saw the one that's the opening for Empire, I think it was the Empire Darth mod, and it showed off the battle for these Russian units, and it was a recreation of this important battle, and it's just amazing what people do.
Oh wait, no, I think the guy for that was
was that
the Nanny.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah, the Nanny did Darth Mod ones. I don't think he's been doing any videos for a while now, but his videos, I mean, they looked brilliant, absolutely fantastic, and so cinematic and so kind of almost lifelike as well. They were just brilliant. Just watching them, that's what I do when I'm just zoomed in watching animations all the time. I'm creating that in my head, just going it's awesome.
And they should bring back Time Commanders. That would be
Time Commanders.
Yes.
we can do petitions in the UK now, can't we? Can we put a petition? Someone not done one of them yet?
It's thanks to Time Commanders I actually got Rome Total War in the first place. So it uses the exact same graphics.
Yeah, it's the same sort of engine, isn't it?
Leaves
that
the
they
game,
developed?
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Any other major points anyone wants to touch on for this specific topic of Rome Total War 2?
Anyone going to upgrade
Yes,
for
of
it?
course, man. Everyone
Me.
gonna upgrade, I think. Well, on the homepage for the site, is the last point is that it's going to be like the most scalable game where whatever your specs it says. I think that's the slogan. Whatever
Yeah.
your specs, you'll be able to play it. So
Yeah, they've said that the minimum specs aren't at the moment changing from the minimum requirements for Shogun 2. So those people are sort of saying, "Oh, I can run Shogun 2, but am I going to be able to run Rome 2?"
yeah,
Most likely, yes. If you can run Shogun 2 now, or Fall of the Samurai maxed out, 60 plus frames a second, or 30 plus, or whatever, and you're thousands of units on the screen, then you're going to be running Rome 2 with all its features set on high and ultra and stuff like that. I'm going to see how my GTX 570 runs. If not, it's going to be a
yeah.
pricey upgrade, but it's got to happen. It's got to happen. I've got to be zoomed in, following that guy's mouth
When they're
move.
doing
while
their
he shouts
speeches.
command.
That's another thing before we end this. Another thing is that so many people I've seen have been asking, are they bringing back that same dude that did the Rome Total War speeches for the generals? That
Oh yeah.
Just,
I
I
hope
hope
they
they
do.
bring back that one guy. Oh, my phone went off. Hope they bring like that dude that does all the speeches and stuff, because that guy was just epic. I wonder where he is now. Like, it's probably his job just to walk around giving people speeches and stuff.
How awesome would it be though if you were that guy with that voice? You just go around shouting like Roman commands.
Yeah.
That's
"My
probably
fellow
how he actually
Romans!"
talks. He probably just shouts the whole time.
Oh, that'd be...
I just go along shouting, just like.
And
heard
people
the
wouldn't complain though,
commands.
because
It's like,
with a
"Forward."
voice like that, just some epic dude. With a voice like that, you're just gonna listen.
Well, I know it was Brian Blessed that did Alexander. He shouts all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Well,
But yeah. I want to meet this guy in real
I
life.
guess like that, the music of the game as well. I mean, they've kept pretty much the same composer as Jeff Van Dyke the whole way through, and I actually stalked him on Facebook and asked him whether on the live trailer the last few notes that's done on like this piano is the main theme from the original Rome game. It's I'm not even going to try and imitate it here because it would just be
it's for the
ridiculous.
first episode of the
on
podcast.
on the live trailer right at the end, there's just this haunting like piano piece. It's only a few notes, but I actually asked if there were any plans to create like a full piano piece for the original Rome theme, which is those notes are from, because to me that just sounded awesome. I mean, I'm a big lover of like kind of classical music anyway, and like movie soundtracks and things like that, like Lord of the
Same
Rings,
here.
things like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes when I play games, I happily have like Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
on shuffle just while I'm playing Total War, because I just think it's epic. But the music I've always found is absolutely epic. But I asked him if there were any plans to produce a full piece, and he says there's been so much interest in it. He says hopefully they'll get around to recording it, and that'd be, for me, that'd be brilliant. That would top off Rome 2, you know. Maybe don't have blood packs in there, but
Yeah,
if
of
there's
course.
that full piece of music,
Yeah.
I'll be happy.
Music can make,
Yeah.
Yeah.
can create these epic scenes. Like, look what it did with Lord of the Rings, with those which is these scenes with this epic
Yeah.
music in the background, and there's countless examples of throughout Lord of the Rings, and
Well, I reckon there isn't reckon sort of 9 out of 10 gamers would say that if they play a Total War game with their sound on and then turn it off, they'd get bored quite quickly. You wouldn't have the atmosphere, you wouldn't have the sounds or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you took one of your favorite games and you played it like, I don't know, say Mass Effect says, if you took that game and then you decided to play it without the music, it just wouldn't
it would
feel right, would it?
The
I think
atmosphere's
the
just
music,
gone, isn't it?
the music really adds that extra feeling to the game that sort of
Yeah, like
that you makes you
immersion,
remember it and makes you remember those sort of epic
it's like-
scenes and things like that.
And surely it's going to be even more important because they've said that, I mean, they keep on hammering home this point that it's about humanizing the games more and getting the player more immersed in it. So, I mean, the music's got to be a huge part of that as well.
I
Just
hope they
getting
bring back
the
that
player
one song
staying
from
in there.
Rome that like everyone remembers, with the woman singing.
Oh, it's his
We Are
Jeff
One.
Van Dyke's wife. Yeah, his wife works on all the pieces with him and does all the kind of the accompanying
that's crazy,
vocals, which I think is pretty cool, pretty
Yeah.
sweet deal they've got there.
Well, I think that's it. We've really touched on everything. Well, what we know, where we know so far. So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, thanks guys for watching this video. Obviously, all the links for each channel will be down in the description. I'll probably link also some of the screenshots that we've all seen and stuff like that. So thanks guys for watching. All these guys, any of you guys want to say anything else?
Rome 2 is awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Alright, see you guys.
Bye, guys.